Today I'm going to talk about selling a home in Texas with a mandatory membership in a property owners association. There's a contract addendum promulgated by the Texas Real Estate Commission, which outlines who obtains and then delivers the subdivision information, the timing of the delivery of that information, and then the result of that information not being delivered in a timely manner. The addendum defines subdivision information as a current copy of the restrictions applying to the subdivision and the bylaws and the rules of the association, and a resale certificate outlining details such as the costs, legal and financial status and obligations of the homeowners association. What's customary in my experience is that the buyer asks the seller to pay for the subdivision information, and the buyer pays an amount not to exceed a few $100s towards any association fees, deposits, reserves, and any other charges associated with the transfer of the property. But both of these fees are negotiable. The subdivision information is generally requested to be delivered by the seller to the buyer within 10 to 15 days, and the title company often does this on behalf of the seller as a value-added service. It generally takes the homeowners association or management company about 10 days before they can get to sending the information without a rush. With a rush, it typically can take anywhere from a day to 7 days in my experience to get the information delivered. So what is important for sellers to understand is that if the seller doesn't order the information prior to selling the house, and if they don't request a rush for that information once they do secure a contract, then the buyer may have an opportunity to terminate the contract after the termination option contingency outlined in the contract expires. This is because the buyer has 3 days to terminate after receiving the subdivision information, with the date received being day 0. The way for a seller to avoid extending a buyer's termination option beyond the termination option contingency is to go ahead and obtain the subdivision information and the resale certificate before you list or immediately upon securing a contract. And consider ordering it on rush, which can be a few $100s, to attempt to get the information at least 3 days prior to the end of the termination option contingency period. The reason many sellers wait to order the subdivision information until they have an executed contract is because the resale certificate particularly, but also the subdivision information could become outdated by the time a contract is secured. This means the seller would have to pay for the information twice. The point being is, as a seller, you need to get the HOA information as soon as possible so that you can avoid the opportunity that the buyer may have to terminate beyond the termination option contingency period. As a buyer, the opposite holds true. However, the delivery date is out of the buyer's control. Once the subdivision information is received by the buyer, the clock is ticking on their 3-day right to terminate. I hope this was helpful, and best wishes for a smooth purchase or sale.